Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of eDiscovery After Hours. My guest this week is Alicia Hawley. This is a great episode, and it's very special for a few reasons. First of all, this whole podcast, this whole thing that we launched a little bit on a whim during the pandemic means almost just structurally, we weren't able to be face-to-face with our guests, to say nothing of the fact then that we've gone on to have guests from 3 or 4 different continents. But I was in Chicago in December, and Alicia and I met at a bar on the north side called Uptown Lounge. And we spent some time together, had a drink, and just really had a special time. So it was a neat little experiment to get out and record face-to-face with somebody. And we hope to do a lot more of that in the future. The other reason is that it was just a great show. Elisa's, she's super easy to talk to. And she's very open. And so we were able to have an awesome conversation about, everything from speaking French and dreaming in French to the artwork and her experience with ballet, where, she danced pretty seriously up until she went to law school. And we also talked about the fact that, we met at this bar. I was drinking a gin and tonic. She was drinking a club soda. We talked about her decision to stop drinking and just had a candid conversation about addiction in the profession of the law. And not that many people would be willing to be that forthcoming, that vulnerable. And I'm just so grateful that she did that. And so I hope that you guys enjoy this conversation as well. The sponsor this week, as always, is Discovery Master. You've got reviewers, remote review is basically everywhere. The whole industry pivoted. And so now you're trying to figure out who are our good reviewers, who's performing well, who is reviewing how many docs per hour, how many errors are they making? What is the severity level of those errors? How do these people compare to their peers? When you want to see all of that automated on a scatter plot with qualitative and quantitative metrics available to you, check out discoverymaster.co and schedule your demo today. Thanks for tuning in.
Quick time!
You don't know how to drink, your whole generation.
Drinks on the house.
Yes, sir.
No, wait a second. Drinks are 50% off.
Right.
No, wait a second. Double the price of everything.
And I work only 16 hours a day.
A union man only works 8 hours a day.
I belong to 2 unions.
And now, eDiscovery After Hours with your host, Ryan Short.
All right, Alicia, welcome to the first ever live eDiscovery After Hours.
I'm honored.
Yeah.
I'm honored, truly, that this is the first one in person with
you should be
in the same place as the person you're talking to. It's
I
awesome.
know, this is crazy. I love it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so this is an experiment because I forgot my ring light. So we're using like a blank Microsoft Word doc so that we look pretty.
There's actually someone over here holding a cell phone flashlight on us. That's not true.
No, it was the mic was casting creepy shadows. It looked like Halloween. And then what else did I forgot my ring light. Oh, and we have no idea how the music is going to sound. So this could be an abject failure. People could just be watching us in the dark. It'll be good.
And listening to the Stone Temple Pilots and other like solid 90s rock playing in the background.
This is really good stuff. Now we got Wallflowers.
Yes, the Wallflowers, which is not quite as stellar as Stone Temple Pilots, but
no. Who do you like better, Bob Dylan or Jacob Dylan?
Bob Dylan. There's no contest whatsoever.
Okay. I'm more of a Jacob Dylan guy.
Wow. Bob Dylan is like one of the greatest poets of all time.
What do you think about his voice, though?
I mean,
we can agree about his lyrics.
His voice is,
like a bullfrog.
Yeah. I mean, you listen to Bob Dylan music for the message, not necessarily for the vocals.
That's totally fair. Yeah. I would have loved to have been like in the 60s in Greenwich Village, like when the folk, scene was coming on. That would have been okay by me.
I always say that I should have been like a high school college student in the mid to late 60s. Yeah. That would have been like my prime.
So turbulent. It's wild though. Like you'll still run into people in eDiscovery and like you looked at their LinkedIn. It's like they got their BA in like 1966. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
How are you still working?
Yeah.
You should be on a yacht.
They probably love eDiscovery.
Yeah. Back in my day.
happy about the advancements in technology that are happening in the industry.
Yeah.
But can I use paper to do that?
Oh man, if I have to, well, anyway, neither here nor there. So great to be face to face. This is awesome. We are in Chicago, the city where you live, the city where I lived for 6 years, and we're back and live, and so this is exciting.
We're actually in the historic entertainment district of Chicago, in Uptown, which is world famous.
Uptown Funk You Up.
Yeah, yep. And I don't think they wrote the song about this particular Uptown, but this Uptown is where it's very historic. There's a lot of history right here in the like a 2-block radius.
There's like 4 massive theaters.
Yep.
So you have the Uptown, the Aragon, is it the Riviera
Theater? Yep.
And then isn't there a 4th one?
Well, they're opening the Double Door right down the street. So the Double Door is like they have a lot of band names that have gone through the Double Door over the years, but it's a little more like indie, like smaller stage bar kind of feel. And they've been in Wicker Park for a really, really, really long time. Right. But now they shuttered up and they had a lease dispute and they shuttered up and now they're literally a block south of here. So it's like there's like 4 now. The Uptown Theater is not currently open.
No,
but
very sad.
Gorgeous. It's the biggest theater in Chicago, next to the Auditorium Theater, I think.
Have you seen photos of it in its heyday?
I've been inside of it.
You have?
Recently. Yeah. I've been in the lobby. Oh. And I've seen pictures of it in its heyday. It's pretty remarkable.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the history and some of the stories are pretty awesome.
My computer's chiming at me. See, this is the thing.
The computer's reminding him that he has to do a podcast with Alicia Hawley today.
This is the thing that you don't get when you're in a controlled environment. Now we're out in the wilds, of Chicago. So, all right, where are you from originally?
I was born in Freeport, Illinois, which is west of Rockford. Like
we're really getting out there now.
Yeah, so it's like on the way to Iowa. It's basically Iowa. Yeah. So it's real northern Illinois.
Did you grow up there?
No. So my parents grew up there. They were high school sweethearts. And then I was born there. And then when I was a year old, we moved. Ultimately, I ended up in Wisconsin near Milwaukee. So I grew up. Yeah. So I grew up just on the near north side of Milwaukee.
Yeah. So Milwaukee is the city that I almost ended up in when we left Chicago. My wife and I narrowed it down to Indy or Milwaukee. We wanted a mid-sized Midwest city. I got a better offer there. So Milwaukee's done a ton of really cool things, and your brother's a part of that.
Yeah.
So is it a boutique hotel? Remind me, is that what he owns?
Yeah, he owns. So he's a real estate developer. Yeah. I love that you remembered that from a talk that we had like months ago.
Yeah. By the way, he's going to sponsor this episode.
Sponsored by. Yeah. So he's a real estate developer. He's got a partnership with a couple other guys, and they really focus on developing hotels. Yeah. And they've done some really cool hotels in the Third Ward, which is like the hip, like historic district in Milwaukee. And they've got some that they're doing a little bit west of the city now too. But yeah, he's got a couple of hotels that he's developed and still partially owns.
That's
in
so
Milwaukee.
Cool. Do you get the friends and family discount?
I'm his only immediate family other than our parents. And it's real tough to get those. Yeah. They're real stingy with it because otherwise, like everybody who's affiliated would just get, they wouldn't make any money because everyone's got friends and family who would just totally abuse it. So yeah, they're pretty stingy on it.
Now we're going to get the thrill of the city. We'll see the red and blue lights on us. We're on the north side. Okay.
Welcome to Chicago.
Yeah.
It's always the hustle and bustle of the city.
So then you went from the near north side of Milwaukee to J. Crew U. Miami, Ohio. Was it Redbirds? Was it Red? What was it when you were there? Had they switched?
No, that happened while I was there. It was the Redskins. Yeah. So it was the Redskins. Yeah. I mean, I will say we obviously were not as evolved even when that conversation was happening as we are now. And so it was probably unnecessarily controversial. Yeah. Like, if that conversation was happening today, everyone would be like, yes, change it. It's bad. We should not still have Redskins.
If it happened today, you guys would be the Miami football team, right? Like taking after Washington.
Right, exactly. There would just be no name. So now it's the Red Hawks. Right. And that change, actually, it happened while I was there. And there were, people who were outspoken on both sides. And again, we're just not as evolved. We were not as evolved as we are now as a society. So it was controversial, but.
And your time in Oxford, which by the way is a gorgeous town.
That's
Beautiful.
why I picked it.
Yeah, I mean,
we drove there once and I was like, this is what college is supposed to look
yes,
like.
it is.
I want to go here.
When somebody thinks like college and the quad and beauty and like gorgeous, like you're thinking of Miami of Ohio.
It is a postcard university.
Yes. So, and when you were there, my conjugation's wrong because I don't, but parlez-vous français? You majored in French.
C'était ma spécialité.
I see that. We'll have to subtitle that. So, do you still speak French?
No.
Not at all.
Un peu. I don't get the chance.
Yeah.
So this is the most French I've spoken in a while. It comes back real fast though.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, if someone sat down right now and spoke French to me, like it would take a second for my mind to like switch back, and then I would be able to. I mean, I certainly don't have the full vocabulary that I used to, but like it comes back really, really fast. Like the mind, really like switches.
Did you ever dream in French?
Absolutely.
So then you were that. They say that's like that's when you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're fluent or you're like competent or whatever.
Yep.
Oh, that's
wild.
wild.
So I used to dream. I actually still dream in French every now and again, and I dream in Spanish a lot, which is crazy because I really don't speak. Like I've never taken a Spanish class. Like I feel like living in Chicago, I've really picked up a lot of Spanish. Like I could, if I was forced to have a conversation with someone, like if someone's life depended on me speaking Spanish, I could do it. But I dream in Spanish.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
I hope that never happens. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But I dream in Spanish, and I dream in Spanish that I don't understand in real life. So like I wake up and I'm like,
you wake up and like Telemundo's on the TV and you're like, oh.
Yeah, but I like have dreams that I understand the Spanish, but I don't know. I don't understand that Spanish in real life, really. At least I don't think I do.
This feels like either like X-Files or biblical. I don't know which.
Something
is going on.
Are you regretting this podcast yet?
No, not at all. Did you study abroad?
No.
So why
I'm
why
so
French?
Salty about that. I love languages, and so I had taken French. Like you had to pick a language and study one of them, and so French was the language that I took, and I just loved it, and I had kind of a gift for it, and so I thought, hey, why not? I was thinking about going to law school, and I don't know if it's still like this anymore. So don't take my advice, kids, when I say this, that you could major in anything and still go to law school. Yeah. I don't know if that's the case anymore.
Probably right. You just do well in the LSAT. I don't know.
Yeah, you could. It wasn't like you had to major in political science or you had to major in So I was like, I'm just going to study whatever I want to. Yeah. And so I studied French and psychology.
See, I think STEM is important. Don't get me wrong. But I get a little concerned sometimes that our society pushes STEM to such an extent as to like totally denigrate liberal arts and thinking and learning for the sake of thinking and learning.
Yeah.
And like major in anything is still good advice. It will always be good advice. Yeah. And if some school tells you it's not good advice, you don't want to go to that school anyway.
Yeah, because what's the point of studying something that you don't have an interest in? Yeah. Because my experience in life is that the more interest you have in something, the more you try, the more you get out of it, the more fulfilling it is, the more it's just a better relationship with the subject. Yeah. So I don't know why anyone would really study something that they hate. Just how do you feel on like the whole like do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life? How do you come down? You can probably tell from my intonation how I feel about it. Yeah, I mean, I think there is some truth to it. Yeah. Because I think that when you really are passionate about something and you're getting to do that, it's your passion, right? Like, I think in theory, the idea is like you would do what you're passionate about, whether you made money or not. Yeah. So if you're able to pair up what you're passionate about with an actual income, that does seem like the dream, right? I mean, yeah, it does. I think there's some truth to it. I think it's, I don't think everyone has that luxury, right, to be sure. I mean, I think it's hard to actually make that happen. So I don't think it's realistic for a significant percentage of the population. Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, I wish it was. I wish we could all just be like, I love this. I'm going to do that and make a living. And then we're all, I mean, imagine the society we would live in if we were all doing what we loved. Oh my God. It would be amazing.
I think John Lennon invented that society.
I swear. I swear. Yeah. I mean, it's true though. Like, right. We'd all be so enlightened because we would just be happy and following our hearts, and that'd be great. I want to live in that world.
That would not be a bad place to be. That's for sure.
It'd be amazing.
So, all right, you're in Miami. Yeah. Sorry, in Oxford.
In Oxford.
And then Northwestern Law?
Yeah, went to Northwestern Law.
How did that happen? Do you know growing up, like, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to law school?
I actually don't really know the answer to that. I think yes. My parents say yes, but I'm someone who like, I don't always think for a really long time. I'm not spontaneous. I'm sort of like calculated spontaneity, if that is not a contradiction in terms. I don't sit and mull over things for like years and years and make decisions, but once I really feel like I've made my choice, like I'll think about it for a second. I'll be like, this is the right choice. I'm going to do it. And so I do remember in high school being like, I want to be a lawyer, so I'm going to be a lawyer. And now that's what I'm doing. And then that was my path, like in that moment. But my parents tell me that they always thought I was going to be a lawyer. And they thought from a very early age that was what I was interested in.
Why did they say that? I
don't really know. I think it's because I'm so sassy.
It's like the stereotypical, you like to talk or you like to argue.
Yeah, I'm so sassy, and that was one of my nicknames, and I like
sassy.
Yeah, because I really
sassy Holly.
Sassy because I have I'm certainly not shy at all, but I'm not shy about sharing my opinion and having even when I was a kid, I loved having like spirited dialogue with people, not like fights, but I think you learn by having challenging conversations with people who have differing opinions.
Yes, 100%.
I think that's the way the only way to really grow, not the only way, but a way to grow.
Yes, 100%. I think all of my liberal friends think I'm conservative, and all my conservative friends think I'm liberal.
Because I'm just everybody guessing.
Yeah, because I'm just a contrarian, right?
Yeah.
But I would much rather talk to somebody that we don't necessarily agree on something, but they're well thought out, right? And it's not just I'm a Republican because my dad was Republican, or I'm a Democrat because my mom's a Democrat.
Right.
No. Let's talk. What do you feel about this issue? Not what this party says on this issue. What do you think about it? Why do you feel that way? What about this perspective? And so I always got growing up, you're going to be a lawyer because you like to argue. I'm like, lawyers do a lot of paperwork too, and that doesn't sound fun.
Right.
So I don't think so.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think it's like it's a little bit of like the classic story of you were really talkative and like to argue when you were a kid. So it made sense that you were going to become a lawyer, but I'm not 100% sure if that's really the case.
Yeah.
I was really into theater and dance. I danced with a ballet company and was so I was really arts based. And so when my parents tell me they knew that I was going to be a lawyer, I'm like, really? Because there definitely were parts of me that thought I was going to pursue the arts, and I still do a ton of arts on the side, but it surprises me a little bit that they thought that.
Interesting. So when did you start ballet and when did you stop?
I started when I was 4.
Okay.
And I guess technically I haven't really stopped.
Yeah, all right.
It's not cute anymore.
Yeah, wow.
I'm like the old lady. I take classes. So I danced very seriously through college.
Okay.
So I was in the company in college, I danced and I was in the pre-professional program, the apprenticeship program at Milwaukee Ballet. So I was really pretty serious about it. And then, but when I was in college, I wasn't studying dance.
Right.
So for me, what has happened is that I'm equally right and left brained.
Yeah.
And so for me, I have the law and my sort of day job where it's much more left brained and it's really analytical and all of that. And then I have always had a very active, right brained life where I'm really into music and I still try to take dance classes occasionally. And I'm an artist, so I paint and create art because that's the only way for me to give my brain a break from the seriousness of and the analytical, deep critical thinking of being a lawyer.
Right. So my girls are 6, 4, and 2. The oldest 2 are in ballet.
Yeah.
It's hilarious and adorable. I don't think they'll be in the pre-professional track. But yeah, that's really interesting. And now you said you paint now.
Yeah.
And is that just for yourself or do you ever display your work or sell your work?
Yeah, I sell it. So I sell it, but I didn't necessarily mean to, but people have seen things that I've painted and bought it from me.
Oh, that's
and asked
cool.
to buy it, where they're like, I have to have that. Can I buy it from you?
So do you have like an online store, an Etsy store, like a local coffee shop where you display your stuff?
So I'm working on my website because I actually have decided to like start taking it a little more seriously because so many people have asked me to take it more seriously. So I've done a lot of commissions. So people will say, can you do something like this for me?
Yeah.
And the answer is always yes, I will at least try. And so I've done a lot of commissions. I've done a lot of, I do a lot of murals, and I do a lot of like right now I'm in this portrait thing where I do like portraits of rock stars. So crazy.
Yeah.
I would like,
we got Eddie Vedder serenading us right now.
Yeah, I know. Like Eddie Vedder is someone I for
Chicago's
sure
own,
would do.
Evanston's own.
Yeah. Yep. So
I can't tell if I'm on camera or not. Should I be?
Yeah, you're totally on camera.
I probably shouldn't.
I don't know if I'm on camera that much, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, we're great. We're totally good. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So I just try to like balance it out, man, because it's tough being so serious all the time, you know?
I always tell, like when people are like, are you left brain or right brain? I'm like, well, I'm left-handed, but I have Catholic guilt, which means like I'm creative, but I feel the need to be pragmatic.
Right.
Which means I just constantly am like tense. Like, another one of Chicago's own, John Mulaney.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm Irish, right? So like what we do is we just take all of our emotions and we bottle them up.
Right.
And then one day we die.
It's kind of
true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally true. So I like your analogy about the left hand and the right hand and the Catholic guilt and all that. I think that's good.
Yeah. It's a very, people like Catholics are like, oh yeah, totally get that.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Yeah.
I'm not Catholic, but I get it.
It's okay. You can be. The water, come on in, the water's fine.
Yeah.
So you go to Northwestern Law, incredible school.
Amazing school.
And
you asked me before how I got there.
Yeah.
The story is they rejected me for undergrad.
Yeah.
And I was really mad because my dad went there for undergrad.
Oh yeah.
And he's still to this day a very active alumni. He was an athlete there. Like he played.
What did he play?
He ran. So he got a full ride scholarship for track and field.
Wow.
So he was a sprinter and a high jumper.
Okay.
And then he also got a scholarship for football at Ohio State, I think.
Whoa.
But he decided smartly in retrospect that he wanted to go to the school with better education. Sorry, Ohio State, but I'm not actually sorry at all about that. So he wanted to get the better education, which would be Northwestern.
Right.
And he also was concerned about the crashing into each other element of football.
A man ahead of his time.
He was ahead of his time. Yeah. So he decided to run track, and he got a full scholarship. And so then I, of course, when you're a legacy, now you think it's like a shoo-in, but I was like really interested in Northwestern because my dad went there. I grew up going to football games. Like that was, I really felt a connection to it, and they rejected me.
Oh,
so I got back at them by giving them $150,000 of my money for law school.
So
take that, Northwestern.
So I lived in Evanston for 2 years.
Yeah.
Love that town.
It's gorgeous.
And I pined. So I lived in Evanston by the main campus, and then I worked in Chicago by their satellite campus where a lot of the professional schools are. I pined for a Kellogg MBA in the worst way, but I couldn't justify the $150,000. So I, like your dad with Ohio State, I am a proud double Hoosier, but I say I had to settle for a Kelly degree. I couldn't get a top 5 degree. I had to settle for a top 20 degree.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, the reality is, what do you have at the end of it? An MBA.
Right.
It doesn't matter, like you're going to, like it didn't matter really where I went to law school. I would still have a JD, but it did matter, of course.
So then are you one of these people who say like, I fell into eDiscovery, or did you seek it out?
I think it was a little bit of a combination of both. So I started off doing white collar work. So I was a white collar associate.
And what time frame would this have been?
So that was.
Sorry, I'm not. People can infer.
Wow.
There's no way to recover from this, is there?
What are we gonna?
I was gonna say like the transition from discovery to eDiscovery, and like try to place it like on the dominance of like, concordance or relativity. Yeah.
No, I was there at the beginning of it. So my white collar days was when I was right out of law school. So it was like 2002 to 2007.
Right.
And so that really was, I mean, there was an actual transition in that time period from paper to electronic. And I remember the first case I did that had an electronic review, and I think we were using iConnect.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was
Yeah, they were
iConnect.
early to the game.
Yeah. And so that's what we were using to review electronic documents. And it was all emails, but that was that. And I remember thinking like, wow, this is so much better than physical boxes, because I would do, when you do these government investigations too, the subpoenas are just wildly broad.
Right.
And so there would be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, there's no specificity.
Right.
And you can't go back and be like, why don't we narrow it? Because they say,
yeah,
how about you just give us everything we asked for?
Right. Yeah.
So, there was a big transition from just so many boxes and it into electronic. And so I was sort of there for that transition. And I think it was a natural fit for me because white collar work is all fact development and investigations and it's really like narrative development and talking to people and figuring out what happened and who did what and what do the documents say. And so I progressed sort of into eDiscovery that way.
Yeah. You were talking about being like at the right place at the right time in terms of this emerging field, a bunch of people intimidated by it. And you have the ability to be like, I know how to do it. Yeah. And you become so valuable right when you're that person.
Yeah. I'm the OG.
The OG. Yes. Ray talks about, Ray Biederman, the partner I work for, he talks about how back in the 0405 era, they would print out emails and then be importing the to, from, subject line, all this stuff into an Excel sheet. That's right. And then uploading that into summation. And it's
that's right.
And that was cutting edge, Right. It's so wild.
Yeah. Cause paralegal work really involves a lot of what you're talking about of somehow taking the electronic data or the existing electronic data and the paper data and putting it into so many spreadsheets and charts and it was. Which
this was pre-SaaS explosion, right? Because the world that I come from, tech-enabled services, the sales pitch for everything, including Discovery Master, the sponsor of this episode, is, hey, you're doing all this stuff in Excel. Don't do that. Do it in the software instead. It's better, right? Yeah. Like that, if you, anything, Salesforce, relativity, whatever, everything, it's all just don't do it in Excel, do it in our software. Right. And so you guys lived through this is really terrible. We actually need to license some software.
Right. We need to not do this in Excel all the time.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. So we've covered a lot of professional ground.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know. The big time.
That's
Here we go.
That's a good segue.
So I now am mostly through, they can't see my face anymore. Hi. The gin and tonic, the lovely gin and tonic, courtesy of the Uptown Lounge.
Yeah.
And you're drinking a club soda.
Drinking a club soda.
Yeah. What's up?
What's up? So I quit drinking 3.5 years ago.
Cheers to that.
With your gin and tonic.
Good decisions.
Yeah. So, I'm sober. I consider myself someone who's in recovery. I drank a lot for a long time, like a lot of lawyers do. I think it's sort of something that a lot of people don't talk about in the law is that, there's a lot of addiction problems. And so I'm here talking about it. I think there's a lot of addiction problems, especially in the law. Lawyers are in the top 3 professions that have alcohol abuse.
What are the other 2?
Investment bankers, and I think doctors is the 3rd.
So it's wealthy people who are really stressed, who want that release.
It's people, who people have really stressful, high stress jobs and are
disposable income.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow.
And there's a culture. I think the culture is changing. I think people are becoming more aware of it. I think law firms are hiring wellness experts and that kind of stuff because I think there's a realization and we're becoming more woke, I think, as a society about people's mental health and what that means as far as its relationship to a profession. Yeah. But for so many years, alcohol consumption is a huge focus of the social aspect of working in the law. Everything was really driven by alcohol. There's firms I worked at that had taps, actual beer taps, in the kitchen, in the lunch place and everything, and it's and everywhere you go, it's focused on drinking. Yeah. So
I remember as a young kid coming out of undergrad being shocked at how big a role alcohol played in adult society. Yeah. Because you think oh, I'm in high school, I'm not supposed to do this. It's really cool. Haha. And then in college, I'm supposed to do this. These are my 4 years to be, whatever. But then coming out of school, it's oh, this client function has alcohol and this corporate event has alcohol and this, and you start to think what are we doing to ourselves? Yeah. I luckily have, I'm a cheap date. I've never had a problem because I couldn't probably physically have one. But I mean, massive respect and kudos to you for that's tough to say, hey, I don't think this is good for me and I'm just going to stop.
It was a lot. I will tell you, it was not like that. That was not for years. I wanted to not have that relationship with alcohol, but you can't, when you're an addict, you don't have control over it. Yeah. So you can wake up every morning and be like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
Like, I don't want to feel like this every day.
Yeah.
But it's not so easy as to be like, okay, no, I'm just going to stop. I tried to stop drinking for years.
Yeah.
And it has so much control over you that it was a long journey to get there.
Yeah.
But the reality is it was slowing me down, man. Like I wasn't able to perform like anything in life at like peak performance because, there's only so much you can do when you're hungover all the time. And like,
Yeah.
So.
Well, good for you.
Thanks.
So then the other thing that we have to touch on before I turn the mic over to you is.
Haven't I kind of had the mic the whole time?
Well, yeah, I mean, true. Before I let you get on your eDiscovery soapbox.
Oh, I don't. Oh, yeah, I forgot.
You're wearing short sleeves in December in Chicago.
Yeah.
Which is, brave.
Yeah.
How old were you when you got your first tattoo?
How old was I? So I was in my 30s.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, like when you ask a friend that, I was like, oh, I was 16. My parents didn't know.
No, because it's really funny because I have this, just like I'm like equally right and left brained. I have this ongoing like inner battle between like really being like so radical and like total punk rock. And then, being like real straight edge lawyer.
A lawyer from Northwestern.
Yeah. Like I struggle with that a little bit. Cause like part of me is like really wild, but then I'm such a rule follower and like, so there's this like, I have like a battle inside. So I kind of had thought about tattoos, but I really wasn't serious about it until my 30s. And so when I was saying earlier that I don't spend a lot of time thinking about decisions, the only thing I spend time thinking about is tattoos. So because I have
let's just clip that. And we're just gonna put that on loop. The only thing I spend time thinking about is tattoos.
Right.
The only thing I spend time thinking about is tattoos.
The only thing I give long-term thought to is because obviously they're permanent.
Yeah. They tend to be. Yeah.
They tend to be unless you've gone to
unless you're Mark Wahlberg, who has like the most impressive removal guy ever.
Yeah.
Like when you look at 90s Mark Wahlberg, Marky Mark.
Yeah.
Versus like the 2000s dad.
Yeah.
Like talk about Catholic, like uber Catholic Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Or
like Pete Davidson, who gets them all removed or whatever too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're generally permanent unless you go through that horrible process, which sounds terrible. So I have a lot of ideas, like the creative side of me, like as an artist, I constantly have ideas about art and tattoos, which is art.
Yes.
But I make myself wait a year after I've come up with an idea because it's so permanent. And there are tattoos, there are tattoos that I have really loved the idea that I had come up with. Yeah. That I've not gotten after that 1 year grace period.
Good
so like so this is like the inner this is my right and left brain, like rebel, but not really, is that I force myself to think about it and like really let it marinate there and like sit on the shelf for a year. And then after that year, if I'm still like, yes, I really want this one, then I get it.
So my wife and I, neither of whom have tattoos, we have that rule with like purchases.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, we want this thing, right? And like, depending upon like the size of the purchase, it determines the sliding scale, right? Like my wife needed a new like non-stick cooking pan. It's like, okay, well, let's wait 30 days and see if you still, because these things. Like,
this is, by the way, like #married life.
Yeah. We have a minivan.
We have a waiting period on our Teflon.
Yeah.
On our Teflon frying pan.
So like something like that, it'll be like, hey, we'll wait like 30 days and see, do we actually use this pan enough that we want it and need it and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Whereas if it's something like, hey, we're going to add a bathroom onto the house.
Yeah.
Okay, we've been talking about that for like 8 months now, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe we do, maybe we move. Who knows? So what's your most meaningful tattoo?
Wow. So I'd like to think they are all meaningful.
Yeah.
They all have meaning
in some way.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
I think, wow, that's so hard.
You don't have to answer. You're allowed to take what is it called?
Plead the fifth. Yeah. Yeah. I think probably the one that's most meaningful is actually the last one that I got, which is, I don't think anyone's gonna be able to see it. It's a rainbow, like painted rainbow, like looks like paintbrush.
Mhm.
And then it says One Love on it.
Oh.
And the reason I got it on my wrist is because this world is crazy right now. And I want everyone I meet to know that I'm a safe space. So that is the first thing that they're going to be able to see. And hopefully that lets people know that like, it's safe, you know, you're safe with me, whatever, whoever you are, whatever you stand for, like I'm a safe space. So that was important to me to like be able to communicate that to people.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's no better way to end my segment of this episode than that. So
Yeah.
big kudos. So let me tee you up. Is there something we have to put the eDiscovery? We're here after hours at a
Yeah.
bar in Chicago. Is there something eDiscovery, the show title, that you think is exciting or frustrating, or that you think needs some more airtime that you want to talk about?
No, I'm just kidding. No.
Yeah.
This is hard for me to answer because I think everything's just evolving so fast. And I think there are so many hot button topics. And I think there are so many things that everybody's talking about. You know, I have long been a proponent of active learning and TAR and, you know, AI. And I think I'm not obviously out of the ordinary in this field. And so I guess it's sort of I guess that's the thing I should talk about because that's what I'm sort of.
There was kind of a big case that you were involved with.
Yeah. Yeah, like if anybody had to guess what I was going to talk about, that would be it. So if you have that on your bingo card, congratulations. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I am actually really optimistic because I think we're actually shifting. I think lawyers are starting to feel more comfortable about assisted review, about CAL, about whatever name you want to give it, and machine learning. I think lawyers are actually getting on board now. I think they are starting to realize it's not as scary as they think it is. You know, lawyers are so they don't like change. Lawyers don't like change.
I've noticed, yeah.
Right? Like lawyers are just so set in their ways and don't like change and are typically, as far as professions go, behind the curve as far as adopting technology. And so, but I actually think, and I know we've been saying this in the industry for like 5 to 10 years, like TAR is going to be a thing.
Yeah. I
actually really, really believe that we're at a turning point now. I'm getting a sense that people are starting to feel more comfortable with it, which I'm so excited about because, I mean, the reality is TAR is awesome because it makes everybody's life easier and better. And you know, you can be smarter about review and you can be smarter about development of your case, and it serves its purpose really well.
Are there, you know, whether 1 or 2 or 3, like what are the contributing factors that you feel like, oh, this is what's contributing to the increased in comfort, right? Is it, you know, to be, you know, crass, is it older lawyers aging out? Is it just the drum has been beaten and people are just throwing up their hands and saying, okay, vendor, do whatever you want? Is it an actual, you know, is the knowledge and the competence among litigators rising? Like what are 1 or 2 or 3 things that you think are contributing to that shift?
I mean, I have a tendency to believe that it was the decision in my landmark case, City of Chicago versus Livingston.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, there's a plug.
I'm totally kidding. No, I think it's a combination of what you're talking about. I mean, I think certainly to some extent the demographics getting younger and is just more comfortable with technology. That's just reality. That's just the truth. I also think that we've been talking about it for so long, like you said, beating the drum, but I think people are starting to really listen because the reality is technology is driving certain aspects of the practice of law. And so when there are places where there's gaps in that, people are noticing like, well, we're using technology over here. Like, what can we use? What can we do to use it over here?
Yeah.
And I also think everyone hates eDiscovery except the people that really do it. I mean, really, lawyers,
even a lot of them,
even sometimes the people who do it, you know, people don't like doc review is oftentimes the thing that people dislike the most. Yeah. And clients don't like to pay for it. Right. And partners don't want to budget for it. Yep. And so I think there is this shift of, okay, is there really something that we can use to make this faster, more efficient, more accurate? And that's going to cut down costs. Because I think it's getting more expensive. If you keep doing it the old way, it's just going to keep getting more expensive because we have more data and there are more demands on what we're trying to do with the data. So if you don't have technology that's going to help wade through that, it's just going to keep getting more and more expensive and more time consuming. And that clients are going to not be okay with that.
Right.
Clients at some point are just going to put their foot down and be like, no, you got to figure out a way to do this cheaper.
Right. That makes sense. Well, thank you so much, not just for coming on the show, but for being the first in-person episode.
So exciting.
I really hope it worked. I
know.
I hope this
Hopefully you heard any of the words that we just said.
Yeah, it's just going to be 30 minutes of this.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Hey, cheers.
Yeah,
Thanks so much.
Cheers.